Hi everyone, and welcome to this video where we're going to be answering your most burning questions about Kingdom, the Kingdom franchise, and Kingdom 80s. We have asked you guys to send us questions over social media, over like Steam, Discord, Twitter, whatever, and we got a lot of them. So we're going to answer as many of them as we have time for today, and see if we can straighten out some of those question marks and turn them into excited exclamation marks. That's the plan. Who are you?
I am Gordon Van Dyke. I've been working on Kingdom since the original. And now I kind of have a role of creative director-ish and kind of head of the IPs and stuff at Raw Fury. And
Yeah, you're like the master of Kingdom.
I am the last person standing.
From the good old days.
I'm the only person left that's worked on every single iteration of Kingdom, except for the Flash original that Thomas did by himself.
Yeah. So that's you're our guru when it comes to all things Kingdom. We come to you when we have questions about it.
Yes.
And my name is Elizabeth. I work as a publishing producer on Kingdom right now. So this is us. We're the ones who are going to answer your questions.
But you do you do much more than that.
I do a lot more, but it's like working at Raw Fury, you wear a lot of hats all the time. Like you roll up your sleeves and you help where you're needed. So you do a little bit of quality, a little bit of marketing, etc. But the publishing producer is like my on paper title right now.
But you've also done storyboarding.
I have.
So you have artistic skills.
For what? What are you saying? You're not.
There's a lot of projects at Raw Fury.
That's true. We got a lot of questions, like I said. A lot of them are about Kingdom 80s because that is our new game that we just recently announced, and people have a lot of questions about it because we've only just posted like a teaser trailer about it. Not a lot of info.
Which is exactly what we had hoped for. We hoped to raise a lot of questions. We wanted people to come to us and want to know more, right? And that was what we were ready to share at that stage, because we were still ironing out a lot of the things, but a lot of features and gameplay things were in motion, but it's like getting those pieces and putting them all together and aligning them, because it is a different experience than Kingdom 2 Crowns.
Yeah.
So
it's something new. So I want to start with the lightning round with the most common basic questions about this title. So first of all, is this a new game or a DLC?
This is a new game. Back to what I just said, it is a different experience and it does play differently. It's the way we've designed it. It does not support co-op. It's a single player experience.
Oh, so you answered the other question I was going to ask. Is it single player or co-op multiplayer?
It is a single player. This is how it was designed, and and I think if we would have put this content, same with Challenge Islands, that we initially didn't have co-op functioning, people get really frustrated. If you have a co-op game, all content should kind of fall in alignment to the expectations. And this game was never designed to be that. This game started kind of formulating in my head around and before 2 Crowns. 2 Crowns grew into something much bigger than we expected. This, to me, was this next kind of iteration in Kingdom, but we put that on pause because 2 Crowns turned into a way bigger experience than we had expected, and in a good way.
Yeah, we added a lot of cool stuff to it.
And so this one, I wanted to go back to this and use Kingdom as a platform. It's still a Kingdom game, and it feels like Kingdom. It'll feel familiar, but there's a lot of new ways of approaching challenges and problems in the game, and it does have a...
Can you hold that thought? Because we're going to get to that. This is, you know what a lightning round is? That's when you answer really short to several many questions. Okay, so we talk about it is a new game. It is going to be single player. Release when?
We're targeting the end of this year.
End of this year. How much is it going to cost? Can we talk about that yet? Or are we not ready to?
We're not sure, but it's not going to be like more expensive than Kingdom 2 Crowns for sure. I can say that it's probably going to be around $14.99.
Oof. Yeah. Spicy. And do we have anything to say about platforms right now?
No, but we are focused on coming to all platforms, but at what stages and which one will be first, it's going to definitely be PC, and Steam is going to be the first platforms that we're going to release on, and we're trying to figure out what we can do next. But we are still a small team, and we're supporting Kingdom 2 Crowns at the same time. So development hasn't actually stopped on Kingdom 2 Crowns. So we have to really utilize our resources wisely.
The team should be working on the right things at the right time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was the lightning round. That was like the basic questions about the game that, a lot of people are asking about all the time. And that's as much as we can say about it right now, but more info will come the closer we get to the release. So another very common question that came in from a lot of players was, what was the inspiration for the 80s theme?
So the inspiration is, there's a lot of different things that tie into this, but I'd say the strongest inspiration is my childhood. So a lot of things in the game are directly from my childhood. So I was born in 1974. Yes, I'm that old. and I was 6 to 16 through the 80s. So, I mean, that's a massive stage of, your development that, shapes who you are and has this massive impact. So all the Star Wars movies, the original 3, what are those ones called? The second trilogy? The original trilogy.
Okay.
I don't yeah. So, I saw in a drive-in theater Star Wars for the first time in 1977. It was 77 or 78, the summer of. I'm not sure the exact one, but
you must have been really tiny.
But then, movies stayed in the theater or ran for much longer because there wasn't this additional, way to sell your movies again or stream or anything like that, right? So, and it was in a drive-in theater with a little tiny speaker that clipped onto the window.
So you got your own personal audio for
yeah.
it? Oh.
But it was like this really bad, and it just blew my mind. So I had a lot of those experiences, and now of course that was before the 80s, but then we had Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi happening, then E.T. You had tons of these movies that were about kids who were these heroes and achieving great things that and the adults would always underestimate them, and so I took a lot of inspiration from that. I wanted to kind of tell a similar story but do it in the Kingdom world, the Kingdom universe. So there is a bit of this kind of background story that does in some ways connect to unwritten lore or exposed lore that we use when we're trying to design things to kind of keep a connection and a synergy between all the different games. And some of it originally started as just cool ideas from Thomas, and then some cool ideas from me, or some from someone else on the team, and then we had to do something that you taught me a new term for, retcon.
Oh yeah.
I never heard that before. So we tried to kind of find ways to explain things that we'd put in the game.
You don't want to admit that you retcon things, Gordon.
I'm even transparent. I'm honest. But now we don't do that. So
no, because now we have our lore. We have our horses in a row. Now we know where Kingdom comes from and where it's going.
Our steeds in a row.
Oh, right. Right.
But yeah, so it's like all these things are starting to connect, and we want to build a bigger world that has more story to it, and we want to start sharing that with the players. And our first attempt at that is going to be with Kingdom 80s.
But it's also kind of good in a way because it is set in a different time and a different era than the other Kingdom games. So by doing this and experimenting in the 80s era, we can kind of find our way forward without, affecting the original Two Crowns and New Lands and classic timelines too much.
Exactly. And it's like, so we can do things and we can experiment with things, like you said, in a way that doesn't maybe break the lore, and whatever we do next in Kingdom, we can take some of the things that people really liked, and then we can ditch or never move forward with things that maybe that people didn't think were the best features, or etc. So it's a way for us to really experiment without deviating too far.
So what about the 80s do you think works well with the Kingdom formula?
Some of the things with the 80s, well, we took heavy inspiration from Goonies, so I think the story we wanted to tell, having that band of kids that achieve great things. You had this in E.T. to a degree as well, and having the teenagers and the younger kids working together to accomplish something that the adults didn't think was possible felt really plausible. And you had a lot of fun, quirky things happening in the 80s. It was still a time period where you had this kind of more old school things happening, and you had this newer technology emerging. So it also gave us the ability to kind of believably place this in a time period. I think we would have struggled now because all the kids would have been just staring at their iPhones and iPads. And
so if you did Kingdom in like 2022.
Yeah, exactly. So so I think just that time period and where it was technologically, and it's far enough back, right? Because we're kind of introducing this fictional element, and I think as time goes on, those time periods become more easily used for being more creative and having this very fictional element happening at the same time. And we have a lot of stuff to draw inspiration from that I think still stands today. It's like you had the Terminator, you had Predator, you had like we talked about earlier, Goonies. You had these incredible animated series coming out at that time. You had the rebirth of G.I. Joe, which was an older toy that they reimagined. You had He-Man. You had Gummy Bears. You had Chip and Dale. You had, I can keep going on and on. Galaxy Rangers. Voltron. You had, Thundercats. It's like, you just had, there's all these cool things that you can use, you can reference, you can show a connection with, and it's like, and if you want to bring into modern setting, being in the 80s Americana kind of setting as well, gave us a lot of fun things to do with suburban track homes, downtown kind of idea, malls, camps, etc., etc. Like these are all kind of really cool places, the beach, and it's like these were all these very, very troped scenarios that was also very visible in the 80s. So it just kind of just made sense.
Nice. We've gotten also a lot of questions, and I'm kind of bundling a lot of different questions into one, but the general thing that people are wondering is, what is going to make Kingdom 80s different from Two Crowns? Do you have any major points we can list right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away too much because I want people to, want to have, because right now we can't reveal it with, screenshots or trailers yet. But I would say, the story is going to be the big thing. We're going to actually put kind of names behind some things that people have, wondered about and we've never even revealed, and some of the names we'll take has been inspired by the community. So I think that's the big thing, and it's also, it's not the same experience where you're just making a base, building it up each and every time, and then going to a new place and doing the kind of the same cycle. All the locations you go to will give you a different challenge to overcome.
And it's going to be a little bit more linear in that sense when you talk about story, right?
Yeah.
You're getting from point A to point B in a way that Kingdom hasn't really done before.
Exactly. So there's an overall objective and goal, and there is a final scenario. So this isn't, this is why we're still supporting Kingdom Two Crowns, because it's not to replace Kingdom Two Crowns. This is a side experience adventure, and we don't think players will play it in the same way. But you always have Two Crowns to go back to, and we are going to continue to support that for the foreseeable future.
That's also really good that you mentioned it, because that's also something that people have been asking, what happens to Two Crowns now that 80s is coming? But there's not going to be that much of a difference. We have been updating Kingdom Two Crowns, and we will keep doing that.
Exactly. So we're going to keep updating that one, and 80s isn't designed to be a game to add more content or add more DLC. If people really like it and they like kind of taking the core kingdom elements and then creating a new experience out of that, then maybe there would be an additional game in parallel.
We'd take that experience with
Yep.
us into the future.
Yep.
So we had a couple of questions about the soundtrack. What will that be like? Can we reveal who's composing it?
Ooh, I don't know if we should reveal just yet who's composing it, but it is we are working with a new composer for the music, and it's definitely 80s inspired, and 80s, it's very 80s iconic, and the first track that they did was actually in the teaser, so I think that's a good taste of the style of music that the soundtrack is going to stick to. So basically, synthwave.
So if you like synthwave, is this going to be a soundtrack that you can listen to even when you're not playing the game? Like, is it going to be the soundtrack of your awesome, rad, neon shining life?
Yeah, there's going to be some of the songs that are a little bit more like heart pumping, but in the Kingdom style, the songs have historically, the in-game ones at least have been lo-fi kind of esque. So that you can kind of work and have it in the background, and it just like, and it doesn't distract you. It's there and makes the environment nicer.
Right. We've also had some questions about the main character. What will they be called? Like, is it still gonna be a king, a queen? Who is it?
No, it's gonna be you're gonna play as the same character. But that character doesn't have a name, so we're using the kind of design philosophy where the character never speaks, and so you can kind of put yourself as that character. The character is intentionally designed to be kind of have a neutral look, so that as many people as can just project themselves onto that character. That is also a bit inspired by me. Like my parents were hippies. They made me have long hair. Sometimes people didn't know if I was a boy or a girl. So this hero character is taking inspiration kind of from me. You wouldn't think it now with this facial hair and stuff, but I couldn't grow a beard until I was like in my early 20s.
You did a glow up, as they call it.
Exactly. So it was like, I was I was just your ambiguous teenage boy. But it's like in this situation, I wanted all players to be able to kind of be able to project themselves onto this character. But it is, a bit more tomboyish if you project it as a female character, and you can project it as not having a gender at all. It's up to you.
Yeah. So could we summarize it as the player character of Kingdom 80s is all of us?
Exactly. It's everyone, and it should be that way because all of us can be a hero. And I want all the characters to be here.
I got goosebumps. That's nice. Did you come up with that just now?
Yes.
Oh my god. Jesus. Okay, another thing that people are really, really curious about, it's the questions about the steeds. We see the character riding a bike in the teaser trailer, and the people are asking, is that all it's gonna be? Is it gonna be horses? Are we gonna see animals? Is there gonna be a DeLorean? Someone even asked. Do you have
That's a good question.
Do you have something to tell there?
But I mean, it's going to stick with something that makes sense for that time period. I don't want to go too detailed into it, but it is, bikes are the new steeds. I mean, that's what I rode on as a kid. Again, so that there is a constant kind of factor in this, and so that it does make sense, and there is a connection to something that is real. We did use a lot of my childhood. I was riding bikes all the time, everywhere. And today I just made my kids ride 7 kilometers from home to work, and they're just in the early stages of riding a bike. I'm like, come on, you can do it, and I'm helping push them up the hills and stuff. And so
it's your philosophy. The bike is the best.
Yeah.
Okay.
It fits this time period so well, and it is what we took a lot of inspiration from. There's a movie that I showed a bunch of people that had never seen it called Rad. It's an 80s cult classic. I highly recommend watching it. It was like the BMX kind of movie, which, it followed a lot of the things, the very Karate Kid, the kid that everyone, kind of put down and becomes the star.
Oh, right.
And it's like, they had skateboarding movies like that. And that's another thing that was really common. So, we really wanted to make sure that the all the things that you did were very, very much connected into real things from that time period.
Another question, which I feel is super important. I'm so happy you asked. Person on the internet. I don't have your name right now, but we know who you are. Will there be a dog? And can you pet it?
There will be a dog, but I don't know about the second part.
I mean,
Alan is he's in control of all the design now, so he's making those more nuanced decisions in the design.
I'm just saying we might have a riot if you can't pet the dog.
The dog could get stolen, though.
No,
right? The dog always has to be able to get stolen.
The players already have enough trauma of dogs getting stolen from Kingdom 2 Crowns, I think.
One of my favorite features that got added in Newlands that Thomas came up with was the dog, and I was like, "We'll put the dog in only if it could get stolen." And he was like, "Should we let it get stolen?" I was like, "Absolutely." It's so heartbreaking. It's like
it's a trauma.
I'm an evil designer sometimes. That's just.
I think that's evil. I feel in my heart of hearts that is evil. One question that came in was if there is going to be a demo that you can play.
We're going to be at Bit Summit in the beginning of August. We're going to be at Gamescom, PAX West, and Tokyo Game Show. So that's where people can play a demo. But right now there isn't a plan to do like a public demo before, or like a demo on Steam or anything until at least at launch or after launch.
Yeah, so if you want to get an early look at Kingdom 80s, you have to show up at one of those events that we're planning to attend.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the game length? Do we know around now how long it's going to be?
I mean, we can kind of guess, but it will be similar to, I'd say, it is going to be hard to be able to speed run it in the same way that you could do Kingdom. So I don't think you're going to have really short sessions. But I would say most players, it would take them between 6, 7, maybe 8 hours to beat. And there's going to be different difficulty levels. So that, of course, will shape how long it takes you to beat it.
Right. How about like replayability? Like we now mentioned that, it's kind of story based, it's kind of linear. Do we feel like that has some kind of replayability value for 80s?
Well, I think all games have kind of a replayability factor to them, but I would say that the replayability is going to be different than what you get in Kingdom 2 Crowns. I think a lot of players will love this, enjoy it, and then continue playing Kingdom 2 Crowns, and then come back to this when they want to go through it again and kind of have a different experience that they have in the campaign.
So finally, we have a question. Are we going to get more Friday share days from the good man Gordon?
Oh, did someone actually ask that?
Yes.
I didn't know if people missed those or not, but yeah, I think I can start doing that again, or maybe we can even do it from the Kingdom account, and just start doing it from there, because we're stacking up a bunch of stuff for 80s that we're going to be prepared to start sharing. And we're doing a lot of fun stuff and in ways that we haven't done before, because there's so many fun things from the 80s that we can parody or we can reference, that we want to do just for fun, just to share with our community.
Yeah, I agree. We have a lot of cool things that we really want to show you. We're not quite ready to do that just yet, but it will be coming in the coming months leading up to the release, and we can't wait to hear what you guys think about it once it gets there. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for answering these questions, and maybe we'll have another opportunity to do this again when we have more to talk about.
And stream the game while we're playing it.
Oh, yeah. We're definitely going to stream the game when we have something to show. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Or should I use this hand?